Nigeria's worst flooding in 12 years has now spread to the Delta region. The torrent was until recently in the east-west road in Nigeria's Rivers state. The flooding has killed more than 600 people, displaced around 1.4 million and damaged or destroyed 440,000 hectares of farmland.
Health officials warn that the floods could worsen an ongoing cholera outbreak, and even natural gas exports are at risk. Authorities blame heavy rains and water release from the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. Experts say global warming and poor planning worsened the disaster.
This event is extreme. It's nothing that Nigeria has seen in a while, and the result of that is climate change. But it's also not the only factor. So we have climate change that is making these hazards more intense, more frequent. But we can also do something about it to reduce our vulnerability by improving our protection system, by upgrading our infrastructure, improving our mitigation strategies, planning for resilience ahead of time.
A lack of residential zoning allows houses in flood zones, and poor irrigation places farmers at the edge of rivers under severe pressure.
There are entire systems of not just households, but also critical infrastructure, social systems, economic systems, education, healthcare. All these systems are impacted at the same time. And so this will lead to devastating losses at various aspects of life, and people will need to identify resources to be able to replenish these different aspects as they start the recovery process.
Nigerian authorities said rivers, Anambra, Delta, Cross River, and Bayelsa states remain at risk of flooding until the end of November. The 2021 Notre Dame Global Adaptation Index ranked Nigeria among the bottom 20 nations in its readiness to adapt to climate change.
Well, for more on this, we're now joined by the Executive Director of Human Environment Development Agenda, Sulaiman Arigbabu. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you, Peter. It's my pleasure to be here.
Just how serious is this problem getting? Is it getting worse?
Yes, it is. Of course, especially for the communities affected, it's really getting worse because you know it, and the flood is here. People are many are in IDP camps, live tired to go to be with relatives. Of course, so many have died, unfortunately. And then, of course, quantum of crop loss. So this has been really, really disruptive for people's lives and livelihood. Now, it's to abate until the floods totally disappears, which we know it truly will. And go to the next time and express shock again that it's happening. But for right now, we're still at the top of the incident. Community is devastated. People are yet to be able to return homes. Yes, in Bayelsa, the flood was actually exhuming buried corpses from cemeteries. So it's even spreading those who have gone. So it's an ongoing incident. It's serious. It's devastating. We totally just wait now for the waters to recede. But importantly, the authorities are reaching out for help. The National Emergency Management Agency is doing some of that already, and expectedly subnational be reached out, hoping that the process will be transparent and will be far-reaching.
All right, this is the worst flooding that's been seen in 12 years, and 12 years is not that long ago. The question then becomes, have there been lessons learned or not learned, because it seems the consequences are the same and the effects are the same. has there been a failure by authorities, for example?
Oh, yes, you can say that again. We had this, we had 2012, the whitewater flooding. It was quite devastating, nearly as much as this. This has, of course, trumped it in terms of the quantum of the flooding. The that learned anything. The same thing, we were still caught unaware, despite the fact that the meteorological agency, as far back as February, warned us there's going to be a lot of rain this year, and so we need to be prepared for flood. Immediately upon their predictions, the seasonal climate prediction, the Nigerian Hydrological Services also gave the flood pathways. So the scenario was already painted. Unfortunately, still not unaware, and much more importantly, the subnationals, the state government, were caught unaware. It didn't expect it happened. Dams and rivers were not desilted. That we could have communicated warnings rather than condolences. Unfortunately, again, like that, we are communicating. Some government officials are going to benefit from this due to corruption. Many people will be able to come back to life, to normalcy, coming back after this kind of extreme weather incident. Many people will be, when this happened, after the incident, the federal government came up with 17 billion naira, shared it among the states to affected communities and farmers. And it was a scandal. The money didn't get to the farmers. The money didn't go down. And some must get as little as 500 naira, which was less than $2, or just about $2 at about that time. Yes, we know that authorities at the national level are trying to reach, but not so much can do take responsibility. We know, for instance, that the ecological fund, which Nigeria has to deal with, is shared between the federal and the state. The federal government takes 25%, while the state government takes about 65%. And unfortunately, we do not see the states doing much. The National Emergency Agency, state of the total of what the federal government takes, is the agency we are seeing up and down now. It's possible. It's legally impossible. It's administratively impossible for one agency to be able to reach out as much as required. I'm not sure that people are having, and then you see each time this kind of incident happen, that is when you know that the state of our state of our places.
All right, so we're going to have to leave it there. We were struggling with that line, but I think the message is loud and clear that this climatic disaster, the worst flooding that they've seen in 12 years, the authorities have been found wanting in large part as well in getting ready for these kinds of extreme weather events, and also just having not enough resources in place to help the people. More than 600 people have died already, more than 1.4 million people displaced.